Hey, what you picking up this season? Look at this chart and draw X's and O's over it to show me all the taste you have about anime no one has seen yet.
I get why this conversation always comes up. When a new season starts, things are exciting and you want to talk about it. Usually it's an honest effort to find something new to talk about with, say, a friend. But it's not like this preemptive conversation can really predict what the season will be like or how good any of the shows will be. With my group of friends, we usually just start claiming AOTS or dropped one after another for minor reasons because it's funny to us how anyone can take this chart and use it to actually gauge quality. See, that's the thing that really bothers me about them. There's people who are relatively new to watching airing anime or, general idiots think they can actually decide on what to watch by looking at one of these. Look at what they have. They have the promotional art, source, a studio, and a paragraph some idiot wrote that may or may not have to do with the anime at all. It's the equivalent of reading the summary on the back of a VHS tape and expecting the movie you rent to be anything like it.
Hey, what you picking up this season? Look at this chart and draw X's and O's over it to show me all the taste you have about anime no one has seen yet.
So first, there's the promotional art. This tells you nothing. Only idiots choose not to watch something based on its supposed art design. People think they can glean some sort of meaning out of how the characters presented on these. If there's a bunch of girls surrounding one man, it's a harem. If there's robots, it's a mecha. If the characters are doing silly chuny stuff, then it's probably an action anime. But see, promotional art is used to sell something based on what's currently popular, and many times isn't really indicative of the anime itself. Regardless if what you can pick up on the art is true or not, this basic genre is the only thing you could hope to gain using this kind of observation. But see, most charts tell you the genre on the label, so it's essentially useless. But most importantly, quality of the shows will not become apparent until you see it for yourself, regardless of the genre. This can also mislead you. For example, when Oresuki was coming out, I thought it was going to be much like Hensuki, which aired just a season before, but this was far from the truth. See, Hensuki was incredibly more entertaining than Oresuki ever was. For me, it's usually not the genre that keeps me interested in an anime, but the quality of the show itself. There's some great Fujo anime, and primetime so-called children's shows are some of the best in the industry. But talking about the concept of so-called children's shows is a whole other video. Now, the remaining two bits of information you can get are the source and the studio. These are the best things you can get from these charts. With the source, you can determine if there's enough source material to adapt for a full season, if the story is likely to conclude, or if there's too much material to adapt, if the studio is likely to skip events. Maybe they'll skip to a satisfying season conclusion within the established story, or maybe they'll make up an anime original ending if the story hasn't wrapped up yet. As standard affair, an LN adaptation will likely have more monologue. For example, a manga adaptation will likely have more still frames and less motion, on the average, as a consequence of its source. An anime original, on the other hand, is either incredibly brilliant or, more often, complete garbage, even if it is ambitious. Now the studio, here's the biggest piece of them all. You can often find what to watch based on this alone if you know your studios. For example, I called it early on that Asatir was going to be one of the top anime of the past season because it was a non-Dragon Ball, non-Pretty Cure, adventure folk tale toy anime, and by God was I right. But you see, even all this really isn't enough to tell me what's worth watching. When this chart is always shared with me, I'm usually at a loss for a good 10 minutes, because I have to stop and consider everything I just said. In the end, none of the info present works. There have been seasons where everything looks like garbage, but it turns out to be a good one. And likewise, there have been hyped up seasons that turn into crap the moment any of it begins airing. It's all just a toss-up. Nothing on these can help. But there is something you can do. When a new season is starting, I look at all the details of each and every title. The actual information you're going to need to make a more accurate guess, and it's still just a guess, at the season's quality is the creators, the studio, knowing the studio's history, the director, the writer, the art director, the chief animation director, character mechanical designers, score composer, the seiyuu, and so on. These are the nuggets of gold that will shed light on what's really worth picking up. If I had my way, I'd push to have these readily accessible on all of these seasonal charts you always get. It's unfortunate that the great majority of anime fans don't consider these things when they go to pick up an anime. They're unfamiliar with the big names who actually decide on the quality of each show that they're watching. Most people get fed up with watching garbage show after being hyped up for a synopsis and cover art. They eventually get tired of anime as a whole and think everything they haven't seen or is popular in their community is probably shit, so they never go out looking for anything. This is one of the biggest problems of the greater anime community as a whole. And
recently I stumbled upon this chart 4chan made, which is supposed to be a joke chart. See, there's Aokiuru, the classic marker for a joke chart. But as it turns out, they just filled it with stuff they knew nothing about. I laugh because almost all of these are masterworks. So they tried to make a joke chart, but accidentally filled it with good, worthwhile anime out of ignorance. And this is supposed to be one of the most elite places on the internet when it comes to anime. Well, you know, it used to be. It's depressing since I used to consider A my home. Not many people actually stick to the hobby for more than about 3 years, due in part to the factors I mentioned. Maybe the joke was supposed to be, go watch things nobody here knows or talks about, but then you're just telling people to go get better taste than what they pick up here, so I'm all for it actually. I'll have the chart in the description, along with everything else I made for the video. It's full of kino, and I'd recommend most of it to just about anyone.
I just wanted to touch base and make a short video about this topic before the new season starts. There's a much larger one I've been working on for a while, so look forward to that. Here's my chart. That's all for now. Take it easy.